Welcome. This is a session of IWIN, the Illinois Work-Based Learning Innovation Network. I'm Heather Penzak, Director of Innovation with Ed Systems, who helps facilitate IWIN. And today are really stories and presentations from districts who are innovating within. We hear a lot about school-based enterprises. There's a lot of folks across the state, across the country who are doing school-based enterprises. But today we're taking a bit of a different take here and thinking about in-house internships. So these are not your typical school-based enterprises. These are internships that are happening with departments all throughout your district. Again, this is one of my soapboxes I can go on, but us as districts, as community partners, right? There are a lot of departments within your school building, within your district, within your central office, and a lot of opportunities for students to engage in the industries that you're trying to recruit partners for right in-house with your people. That doesn't mean that you still don't have to do the same amount of prep and support and work that you would do with an external partner compared to in-house. And our presenters will talk about that a bit today, how they really support those mentors. But this is a different take on that in-house kind of work-based learning piece. So more that internship model than a school-based enterprise kind of model. And so if this is your first time here with IWIN, we are a community here in Illinois that really gets together and talks about innovative models and work-based learning. There's a lot of connection building that happens among this group. I even just heard Brad and Frank talking about the thing they saw on LinkedIn and then connecting there. And, there's folks who know each other coming into IWIN. There's folks who don't know each other and meet because of IWIN. And that's probably one of my favorite parts about this network is just all those connections. But we really also do look at those models that are thinking intentionally about access, especially when we think about our students who are underrepresented, historically marginalized, those furthest from opportunity. And so that's where these in-house internships are a really exciting model to explore how you can think more intentionally about scale, about access. I'm just, again, really excited for our folks to share today. And then two, things come up. What are those policy changes, support systems? How can we keep thinking about advocating to, both statewide, local kind of partners in those pieces? We do talk about everything across the continuum. Today, we're really living in that internship space, which is going to be your career development experiences that those would qualify for. But if you go to our resource hub, there's links in here. I'll be sending this whole presentation as a follow-up, but I can put that resource hub in the chat too. We have all kinds of stuff all across the continuum, and it can be sector-based as well. So if you haven't explored that before, I very much encourage you to, and everything that we put out and promote is very much aligned to in the state, how we've defined these different pieces across the continuum, which is in the dictionary. But today we have two different communities who are going to be presenting to us, one from in-state and one from out-of-state. So we have Cherry Creek School District. They're going to be presenting to us first about their opportunities. And then we'll have our Naperville Community Unit District talking to us as well about their in-house internships. But as we kind of get ready to turn to them, I do want to note there'll be time for Q&A throughout, right? Both of these presenters have material prepared for you to share about and give you an insight into their programs. But if you have questions, put those in the chat. We'll pause in between presentations too, so you can ask questions right away to that community. But please heavily use that chat. It can be really helpful. And in this, right, would like you to introduce yourself. And if there are questions that are top of mind for you, you were like, I really hope this gets answered when I go to this presentation today about in-house internships, please go ahead and put that in the chat now so our presenters can take a moment and see those things and kind of customize some of their talking points as they're going to make sure they respond to your questions. So I'll give you all just a moment here before I stop share so you can kind of see that question again, as I know a couple folks coming in. But please, again, introduce yourself. Any questions that you have top of mind, go ahead and throw those in the chat. And our presenters can start taking a look. And I'll say too, for our folks here, Ashlyn and Brad and Peter, I'll help manage the chat since I know you all will be sharing your screen. I've got you on that one if anything's really popping up.
Awesome. So my name is Ashlyn Montgomery, and I am coming in from Colorado. I represent Cherry Creek School District, which is in suburbs of Denver, Colorado. We have about 52,000 students, and I work with our work-based learning team works with our 6 home high schools, all of our CTE teachers and students there, as well as 1 CTE school, which is our innovation campus, and then 3 alternative schools. Just a quick breakdown of my team in case you're wondering the manpower behind what I'm presenting on. We have 1 internship coordinator, 2 apprenticeship coordinators. One of those is myself, and the other is my teammate, Kara Billings. And then we have been working in the internship and apprenticeship world since about 2017 school year. And then, of course, again, I'm Ashlyn Montgomery, and I am our partner of Apprenticeship Success. So really today, what I wanted to talk through with you is one of our really amazing grow your owns in the district. So I will get us started. Quick introduction. When I'm talking about internships versus apprenticeships, often I think these terms are used interchangeably, or not everyone really understands the difference. And so in our district, this is just how we're defining those. I know a lot of you are here to hear about internships, but our apprenticeships and internships are so intertwined. So I will be talking about both of those. But really quickly, internships in our district are short term, usually a semester long or often a summer long. That's when students have a lot of availability to do this. They are all related to one of our CTE pathways in the district. So we used to have students come asking for internships in just about anything, and we've really tightened it up to be related to CTE pathways and coursework. And it's usually our seniors that are going to be doing this either the summer before senior year or during senior year. We certainly make exceptions, but that's just when students have the most time and flexibility in their schedule to be an intern. And then apprenticeships are really a longer term commitment. And our Grow Your Own that I'll really talk about today is an apprenticeship model. And so students are starting as seniors in high school, they're in our automotive classes, and then they are committing to that apprenticeship 1 to 2 years after graduation. And then both of these, we are able through our district to carve out some time during their school day to participate. So students earn, I think it's 0.5, so half of a semester long elective credit for being an intern or an apprentice. And that's for about 100 hours of work in that semester to earn that credit. Some students do way more than that, but really that's how they earn the credit. Are there any questions there? I can't see the chat or anything, so Heather, interrupt me if I need to pause.
Got you. You're good so far.
Okay. So as we're talking about internships versus apprenticeships, a lot of districts that come talk to me, they ask, well, how did you decide to really dive into the apprenticeship versus just the internship? And really, my big answer for why we turned this into an apprenticeship is that we wanted to provide a really good opportunity for our students, but we also have so many shortages across the district. I know that's common in education. And so really, we saw it as a win-win. We get to provide this really quality opportunity for our students and our community, but also it is helping our district as well. But sometimes in certain areas, there isn't funding for it. I know that's a very, very common problem in education. And so sometimes if there's not funding for something, we go the internship route. And then also a best practice that I'll talk about later is that we've learned that instead of jumping right into apprenticeships, starting with internship and starting small and scaling out is actually what's best. But I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. So I already touched on this a little bit, but just a quick overview again of how the internship and apprenticeship program is working for our students. We customize their scheduling through that elective course that we place them in. Some students are working every other day. Some students are working, let's just say, every morning and then taking their classes for graduation in the afternoons. Sometimes they're flip-flopped where they say, I only have capacity to mentor one student at a time. So we'll put, let's just say, one in the morning and one working in the afternoon. Sometimes they want them in a cohort model. I see this often in like IT and business more so than the trades. And so then sometimes we cohort them all to be working at the same time in their internship. And then there's really no crazy prerequisites to become an intern or apprentice in the district. There's no GPA requirement or anything like that. In really skilled positions like the automotive one I'm going to talk about, they do have to have taken at least one automotive course or be currently enrolled in it and passing. But really, there's nothing else crazy. And then, of course, our team works really closely to make sure that if students are behind in credits, that we don't discount them from the internship or apprenticeship, but instead create a credit recovery plan. And we can get really creative with summer school and online classes and all of that, because I think often students that may be behind, this is a thing that could really get them to graduation and motivate them to do well during their senior year. As far as how this works for the district, the way that we've been able to bring internships and apprenticeships within, where we're the ones that are hiring, and again, I'll get in depth on this in a minute, but we have gotten really creative with funding for this. We've been taking all of the unfilled positions in the district because there are so many. And that magical pot of money is kind of what we've been using to pay for these positions. I know that's not always what districts are able to do, but that's what we've been able to find. And then as programs become more established through the years, sometimes we're then able to allocate an actual budget for the program. But as far as kicking off internships and apprenticeships off the ground, if you want to be able to pay your students, that's what we've been using, and it's been working really well. We also leverage different state programs to help pay for coursework and certifications we might provide these students. And then, of course, if we cannot find any funding, which is always the biggest hurdle, unpaid internships is our last resort, and they're still getting school credit, which is, we're still able to give them something. So our two big Grow Your Own programs in Cherry Creek are our Future Educator Pathway and our Automotive Diesel Tech Apprenticeship. Our Future Educator Pathway was our first Grow Your Own program because that was our greatest need. We had so many para TA shortages in the district, as well as a shortage of teachers. And so creating a pipeline where students are indicating they want to become teachers, starting off in that para teacher assistant role, and then slowly helping them work towards becoming a teacher. That program has just exploded. And I think across the country, that's a really common one that people start with as far as a Grow Your Own. That one has always been an apprenticeship. But the one I really want to talk about today is our Auto and Diesel Tech Apprenticeship. And that one starts off as a summer internship. And then if students do well and they really like it and the mentors like them, they're able to continue on through their school year and post-graduation into the apprenticeship. This one, again, we kind of created that internship. It's really meant to serve as a probationary period. We found that this work is not for every student, even if they really like auto and they really think they want to do this. It's hard work and it's noisy and it can be demanding. So that internship has been really amazing to make sure that students don't feel stuck in this long-term commitment if this is not for them. All of these students in this apprenticeship. Oh, sorry, I thought there was a question. All of these students are becoming employees of our school district, and they are all working at one of our bus terminals. So we have 3 across the district, and only 2 of those have capacity to bring in these apprentices. And so they're working on every district vehicle, which could be from trailers, district cars, trucks, vans, all the way up to school buses. And so it's a really cool opportunity because not many opportunities, I think, give you the chance to work on auto and diesel. And then as far as training and certifications, we want to make sure that we are upskilling these students. And so things like CDL licenses with their school bus specialty that they need, we're helping them work towards that when they're of age, different ASE certifications. And then there's just tons of in-house trainings, which is amazing, so that we don't really have to be sending them off campus to be able to earn these, but we're able to train them in-house. And the huge goal of this apprenticeship is to promote students into higher level mechanic roles when they're done with this. We really wanted this apprenticeship because we have a ton of really, really, really experienced mechanics, and they are all reaching retirement age. And so we didn't know what we were going to do and how we were going to find people to fill these positions. And so this has been the goal of the program, and it's really, really working. As far as things that we learned, and I think this is really the most important thing I want to share with everyone, we really jumped into all of these years and years ago having no clue what we were doing. And I think some big learning experiences that we had is the biggest one was, as a work-based learning team, we are so student facing and so focused on students only that I think we really neglected the needs and concerns of our mentors and the departments we were sending students to in the beginning. And it wasn't until a couple years in that we realized how important everyone truly is in this. I think we assumed, these people work in education, they're just going to jump right in and they're going to be okay with this because it's students. But a lot of these departments that we're sending students into for Grow Your Owns, they're not student facing. And so there were a lot of fears from them about not feeling adequate to be teaching teenagers or not knowing how to work with teenagers. There were also problems of them just not understanding the benefits of internships and apprenticeships. And so we've realized now, instead of just jumping right in and sending students to them and telling them it's going to be amazing, to really get that buy-in early and make sure that we're addressing all of their concerns before sending students in. Another huge thing that we've learned with Grow Your Own internships and apprenticeships is everyone's going to ask and push back on the exact same questions. So if you can talk with your human resources and your IT and whoever to prepare those answers ahead of time, it's going to be much more productive. And it's usually myth busting things like, oh, we can't take under 18. And almost always they actually can take under 18, or our students can't log into our systems. That's breaking FERPA. Well, no, actually, if they're employees, they actually can do that. And here's the access they can have. So that's another thing that we've learned and prepared. Some other things, we have worked with our HR department to create these positions specifically for our interns and apprentices, and they do model your entry level roles that you're wanting these students to work in, but adding that intern or apprentice title to it just allows for more flexibility in the position, and it allows for our team to have a little more control over the experiences that they're getting to make sure that they're quality and not just doing I'll just say busy work if they're in the future educator apprenticeship, things like that. Check-ins often. We were checking in, I think, with students in the beginning. And again, we were really neglecting all of the other stakeholders. And so we now do regular quarterly check-ins with we bring in everyone, the shop foremen and supervisors and the students. And then we all sit down together to make sure that things are going well. Experience surveys is another big one. In the beginning, we had a lot of students that were not completing their internships or apprenticeships. And so being able to collect feedback on that became really, really important for us improving our programs. Long-term data tracking is another thing that we did not do in the beginning. And I think it's because we were really just building the plane while we were flying it and didn't consider that years down the road, we were going to need data to show, we know it's successful and amazing, but we weren't really collecting and tracking alumni and things like that. So I would say if you're hoping to start up an internship or apprenticeship in-house, that's definitely something to consider. And the bottom two are the biggest ones I think we learned, which is start small and scale out. As a district, we were not great at that. I love just jumping in and saying yes to every student, but really to make sure that it's a quality experience, we've had to really reel it in, start small and scale out. And I think that's where that in-house internship will really come into play. It's the biggest thing I wish we did in the beginning, just to do right by students and everyone. And with that as well, as far as starting small and things like that, taking baby steps, I think that probationary period, that internship before the apprenticeship or a job shadow before the internship is really, really important. For example, we had a lot of students go into automotive and the noise level was just too much. We had students having meltdowns over it. And so we were wishing that we had sent them in for a job shadow prior to just hiring them to work in the terminals, to make sure that it was an environment that they could work in and be productive in. So I think really, although apprenticeship may seem so far off and this big thing if you haven't started up in-house internships, the job shadow and the internship and the apprenticeship, they're all necessary components for us still. And so that's something I wish we knew in the beginning, was to start with those and then build up to the big thing rather than working backwards. And then just some quick wrap ups, some huge benefits of Grow Your Owns that I don't think we completely thought about in the beginning. Like we were just thinking about filling these shortages in the district, and some unknown benefits, I think, are that transportation is always a huge barrier for our students. I don't know if you live somewhere with good public transportation, but where we're at in Denver, public transportation is horrible. And so if you don't have a car, and a lot of our students don't, it's really difficult for them to access these programs. So transportation, it's just been amazing because we're hiring them and it's within their community. So we have students that can walk, they can bike, they can easily get a ride from a friend. We've even had our school buses take students from their high school like to our transportation terminal because it's along the route. And so that has been the biggest blessing of creating Grow Your Owns, is that students that may not be able to access outside industry are able to find work. We also have a district that is just not, our staff is not demographically representative of our student population, like not even close. And so we've found that by hiring students directly from the student population, we're going to be creating a future workforce that is actually demographically representative of the students they serve. Once you've created one Grow Your Own, it is so much easier because you've already got the blessing from HR and IT and whoever else. So the first one is the heaviest lift, and there may be some pushback, but it will be successful and it will pave the way for other Grow Your Own. So plan on success. And I think, the last thing I wanted to share is just that after piloting these few Grow Your Owns, we have many more that are in the pipeline. So we're creating, we already have a Salesforce apprentice, but we're now creating an IT internship and apprenticeship. It's going to be like an Apple help desk at all of our high schools and elementary schools eventually, as well as an interpreter apprenticeship, because that is a huge need in our district. So again, once you've got all the pieces together and the blessing from all the departments from one, it will grow and it will be so much easier. So there's my information, and I think these will be shared with you if you have questions, but that's all I got for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Ashlyn. I have a lot of key, just innovative takeaways of things that you've done. I always love the reference to a magical pot of money, but that specific role description, even thinking about that transportation, like the school bus can take them to the terminal for autos because it's part of their route, right? Like they're going to have to take themselves to that terminal. I know there's one question in the chat, and we have a few moments here before we turn to Naperville about the dual credit courses that students take. I know for autos, you mentioned there's one course, they need to be currently enrolled, but curious if you do that early college credit, kind of dual credit for those.
Yes. So we, in our future educator program, that is the one where there is a ton of concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment credit because they need degrees to become teachers. And so we offer concurrent enrollment classes. We actually, instead of like sending them out to the community college, we have our in-house district teachers become credentialed to teach that. And we bring students, I think it's twice a month, to us to teach those in person. The rest is asynchronous. And by the end of the apprenticeship, I think they have between 20 to 24 credits towards their degree, which is amazing. And then as for auto, it's kind of been, it's not as standardized as future educator because every student they just have different interests and different level of interest in attending school. So some choose to go to community college, and we're able to support them during their first year through the Ascent program, which is a free year of college. I don't know if that's just a Colorado thing or a national thing, but we're able to leverage that. And if they have no interest in going to college, since it's not necessary for automotive, instead we just say, okay, what certifications can we get you instead?
Thank you.
I see from Brett the success rate of apprenticeship students being hired full-time. So for future educator, that's where I was talking about collecting long-term data. Our first several years of the program, we were just so focused on who was coming in and making sure they were good. And when they left us, we lost track of them. And so I would say now that we're actually tracking success outcomes, I would say in about a year, we'll have our first group of students that are hopefully going to be finishing their bachelor's returning to us. So it's kind of been word of mouth. So I have no good success rate to share with you, but what I can share with you is that the amount of students that are staying and completing the program has skyrocketed from the beginning. And then in automotive, it has been amazing. We have had 8 students total go through that program. We usually send 2 new ones a year. And we have had a handful of students leave because they realized it wasn't for them. But every single student that has stayed, which has been 4 of them, have been promoted into entry-level mechanic roles, and they plan to stay with the district. So again, sorry, I don't have exact data, but it's working. It's been amazing. So
No, congrats on the autos piece there. That's great to have them, because I know you mentioned a lot of retirees. I think we can all think about departments within our districts that are going to have a good chunk of folks retiring. And it can be their, one of their last hurrahs to train the future of the department. Any other questions for Ashlyn before we move into our next presentation? I know I'm curious about, and I would reach out, Ashlyn, and just like any, we chatted about this recently, and myth busting is very, I know like Cassie's here has kind of used that same terminology in those pieces, but if there's certain things you use that you have found really helpful with myth busting, would love to see that. And those position descriptions that you mentioned too, that would be interesting. And I am just very curious about this, like that pot of money for unfilled positions. Like, what does that look like across districts to tap into? It's an interesting approach.
And I saw Kelly Wren from Yorkville put in the chat about how do you get around those student data privacy concerns. And maybe Brett will answer that more, because I don't know that automotive students would have that level of access. But Ashlyn, if you have anything to share on that, if you have others that are like maybe in the school district business office or in the school district HR department, if you would share any of that, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I mean, because that one's a huge one. And I think you're right. In places like automotive, it's not really a concern. The ones where it's come up is with this IT apprenticeship we're creating, along with the interpreter one, because they're going to be in potentially translating or interpreting in like IEP meetings or discipline. And what does that look like? And so it was a battle in the beginning, but we were able just to get blessing from our IT department and from our district leadership saying that these students are all hired employees. And it's not foreign that we've hired students like our before and after programs in elementaries. We've had student workers forever. And so we were able just to get the big blessing that these students take the same trainings as every other employee. And then we, of course, just add in some additional conversations with them about what it really means. But if they're clocked in, we're trusting them to be paid employees like anyone else. Nothing crazy has ever come up, but if it ever did, I mean, they would be treated like any other employee. So I feel like that big upper level blessing is what we needed. And now we're good to go for anything we create. So.
Thank you, Ashlyn. So the distinction is employee, like you're being paid. So when you clock in, like you're a district employee and you're acting as one.
Definitely.
Versus being a student.
Well, and I think too, if you're starting up and this is going to be an unpaid internship where students aren't employees, that's where it gets more sticky of what can they look at, what can they not. But I think making them employees, that has really just helped us take care of it. So.
Yeah, it feels like a similar when people think about hospitals and clinical kind of experiences, having students go through that HIPAA training, being an employee. And again, that's an essential skill to learn, right? Is training, expectations as an employee, confidentiality, like it's a very big deal. And but I'm sure too, like you mentioned, there's some additional conversations because they might see their peers, right, in that data. And so there's an additional layer of like even though you know this person and your friend knows this person, like you are bound, right, by this agreement, by this training. You're an employee of the school. So wonderful. Well, if you have more questions for Ashlyn, I want to turn here to our next presenters. We have time for questions there too, but share them in the chat, or thank you again for sharing your information. And again, I'll be sending all this out as a follow-up, so you all have access to it. But thank you again. Just really excited to learn from you here today. Otherwise, I'll turn here to our Naperville team.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Can everyone see our shared screen? We good?
Yep, I see it. I think you go to slideshow. You're good to go.
Yep. All right. We'll go to slideshow. Okay. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for everyone with us this afternoon and all the good work that you're doing to grow work-based learning across Illinois. I wanted to share just some background information about our program. So again, my name is Brett Thompson. I am one of 2 career internship teachers and program coordinators in Naperville District 203. My colleague, Peter Hostrauser, is on the call with us here as well. He'll share a few words in a moment. We are a large unit district about 30 miles west of Chicago. Just some quick background information about our program. We walked away from work-based learning as a district around 2010, 2012, so about 12, 15 years ago. And so we did not have a work-based learning until 2022. So you see that first little blue uptick on the graph. We started with 2 students 3 years ago. And our program is completely aligned with college and career pathway endorsements. So we are aligned with internships, endorsements, not so much a co-op model. Our numbers have doubled every year. We went from 2, 2022 to 10, 2023 to 20 last year. And then this year we're at 40. And we're just now seeing enrollment numbers for next year. We're going from 40 to about 90 students next year. So the idea of growing partnerships is real for Peter and I. And, we're living the same life that many of you are. And that is, how do we grow opportunities for our students? So you see the internship pathways, or the pathway internships for next school year in the table on the right. And then on the bottom, you see that our program really does reflect what we're seeing in the professional world of work, where we have a combination of traditional in-person internships. We have fully remote internships, mostly in IT in our computer science area. And then we see a hybrid of the 2. So that's a little bit about where we're coming from. And we're going to share then how we're growing partnerships really internally. And so in the left margin, you see just kind of general ways that we're working to build opportunities for our students. Probably not a whole lot of new information there to many of you. I would like to kind of mention, though, we've had a lot of success with meetups. Meetups is an online space where you can connect with, in this case, local entrepreneurs. I think we linked out to our area, Western DuPage County business group. Peter met with them, has been meeting with them, and has had a lot of success in starting to grow partnerships. So that's kind of outside this conversation. I wanted to kind of point out there's a link there to give you more information. But we're here to talk about what you see on the right side. And as we stood up our program in 2022, we recognized that 1, we had to grow a lot of partnerships quickly. And 2, we recognized the opportunities within our district. That there were some functions that were taking place in our district that we felt that our kids could kind of fill that need, and kind of a win-win situation, a win for our students and a win for our district. And so I don't know that we're as much as kind of grow your own as Ashlyn talked about. We're really more into that internship space, that 60-hour, even like a 20 or 30-hour micro internship. But we started 3 years ago with IT. And again, these links, you have the presentation, you can click on these links. I'll pull up the IT job description. So in IT, we had to be careful because our IT department is unionized. So we had to kind of dance around, workers' rights and not taking union jobs and, doing tasks that were still needed, but still was mindful of the boundaries with which we had to live within. And so our first in-house opportunity that we built was our IT internship program, where our students are doing those types of tasks that would be happening anyway. And so these are our IT pathway students. They would have taken our ITS1, ITS2, and either concurrently enrolled in cybersecurity or have taken cybersecurity. So this is a board-approved position. Pays minimum wage. It's posted on our district's HR site. So our students who are interested in this opportunity, they apply for the opportunity like any other district employee. If they go through an interview with our IT director, if they're offered the internship position, they go through the same HR process that I went through, that any other district employee goes through. They're fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards of that process. And so they actually they get excited because they have a District 203 employee email address, as well as their District 203 student email address. Sometimes get excited about that. But you can see some of the tasks that they're doing. They're entry-level IT jobs. Some of them, it's not. They think an internship program, they're going to start off in the corner office of a Fortune 500 company. That's not going to happen in any of our internship opportunities. But they're doing district critical work. This year we have 2 students during the school year. Last year we had 3. We have 1 at each high school. They work in the IT office of each high school, and they're doing basic functions, right? They're doing basic troubleshooting. They're doing some very entry level things, like during the summer, they're unboxing, 5,000 Chromebooks as we get ready to distribute and deploy Chromebooks to maybe high school students or junior high students or elementary students. They're imaging. They're going around and cleaning up labs. They're supporting printers and doing basic network support. They do one of the previous conversations with Ashlyn. This is all IT hardware, so students will not see any other student data. We did talk about trying to stand up an IT internship opportunity with our at the district level, more on like information systems with our SIS, LMS, and we decided not to do that. We're not ready for that at this point. So this IT job is only nuts and bolts, break fix hardware. Again, they are district employees. They submit a timesheet, or they punch in, punch out, just like any hourly employee in the district. They get paid every 2 weeks, just like every district employee. This has worked out very well for us. Steve Drabick is our director. Very pleased. In the summertime, over the past 3 summers, they've hired 6 of our students. So we're running between about 8 to 10 students a year through this program, fully paid, building their resumes and moving on into college and full-time work after this opportunity. So that's one opportunity. The other paid opportunity that we have is in marketing and community relations. So again, this is posted on our district website, board approved, paid minimum wage. And this student then works with our community relations department, marketing community relations department. Again, students, if they're interested, they reach out, they contact their supervisor, they share the resume, cover letter, they request an interview. The person is chosen. They process through the traditional district HR onboarding process. So you can see some of the essential duties that our students are doing in this opportunity. Mostly more on the marketing side. Again, really not interacting with any student information databases, looking at family information, district information, teacher, employee information, more so on the social media, community relations, going out on community relations events along the way. So this is a 1 semester opportunity. The IT opportunities are a full year. So these are the paid opportunities, some really low-lying fruit, a light lift for you. Now we also have some unpaid opportunities, and this is where we've been creative within our buildings. And this is what I would challenge you to consider as you're looking for opportunities. You likely have a number of tasks that need to get done or to be done in your buildings. But as Peter and I like to talk about, it's kind of like that 10th thing on your list that you just don't have time to do. What can a marketing kid or an accounting student or an IT student do for a department chair or for a building administrator in your building? How can they apply their academic knowledge that they've learned in their pathway courses in meaningful ways? Yeah, it may not be paid, but it's still really important work that needs to get done. And they're learning the culture, they're learning the decisions, they're building their professional network at a young age, which is really all we're trying to do in an internship program at the end of the day. So we're not going to go through all of these, but we stood up a finance school cashier or a finance opportunity with our school cashier and a school-based enterprise. This year, we stood up a marketing opportunity with one of our high school athletic directors, and we stood up a marketing opportunity with one of our high school activities directors. So this is kind of where we're headed moving forward. Next year, then, we're already in conversations with our school nurses. We know that one of our areas of one of our largest growth areas is in our health sciences and technology, HST pathway. So we will likely have a couple of opportunities with our school nurses next year, probably not in the high schools. We're looking at the our feeder schools, elementary schools and junior high schools. Also in our business office, we're working on an opportunity for an accounting pathway student. And to Ashlyn's point, we call it our bus barn, right? One of our transportation, one of our MET students working with our bus barn. And then again, looking at those opportunities within your building. They're there. I just talked to our building principal today, and she is super excited about getting a marketing student next year. All the great things that happen in our buildings every day, and they're not captured. They're not shared with our communities. That's a marketing student that could build a marketing campaign and can manage that for our district and building leaders and administrators. So I want to stop there and ask if there are any questions before we move on.
Who decides whether the experiencer is paid or unpaid?
So that's a great question. Thank you, Cassie. That's decided by our district administrators. So it was our IT director who said, I need more help. I would be hiring this level of job description anyway. I would be posting this in our community anyway. Let's prioritize it for our internship students. So that was a district level IT director, perhaps a cabinet level decision. For the marketing, that was our district saying we need to support what we are essentially preaching in our community. If we're asking our community members to support work-based learning, we need to be doing that in-house. We need to show and lead the way in how that's done. That's where the marketing, paid marketing opportunity came from. The other three that you see on the page, that is us, Peter and I, getting creative, thinking, what are some opportunities that we have in-house that we can leverage for our students? And they've been awesome opportunities. They've turned out to be fantastic opportunities. We would like for them to eventually become paid. We want to, we've got some ideas with that, but currently they are unpaid.
And what were your pushbacks? Were your pushbacks similar to Ashlyn's, like concerns around student and employee data and 16 and 17-year-olds? Were those the same kind of major pushbacks?
Yeah, we honestly, not really. I mean, all of our students are 16 years of age. They're all pathway students. I know it's going to be a concern. We've already had a couple of conversations with our school nurses. Certainly the HIPAA, that's going to be a concern, and we're going to have to figure that out. But everyone has been very supportive to date. They want to be involved. They want to connect with our students. They want our students to have work-based learning internship opportunities for all the good reasons we do them. So we've had a lot of success. I will say, these partnerships, they're not built overnight. They're not built with one phone call, one conversation. They often take months to build. One of our accounting opportunities that we have right now in our program took over a year to build. Just, that's with a larger company. So you work with HR directors and some of the red tape and standing it up. It just takes time. So it's a very labor and time intensive process. But we've been fortunate to have a lot of success and willingness to partner with us to date. All right.
Sorry, Brett, just a quick question. Yeah. I know you have one more thing to chat through, but how do students typically learn about these opportunities? Like, do their teachers kind of be like, hey, did you see this posting? Do students find on their own? Is it a combination of all things? Just curious how they become aware and get recruited or recommended.
That's a great question. So every student that we have in our internship program, again, they're a career pathway student. So our counselors do a great job to make sure that they have met or will meet all academic pathway requirements. At that point, then we see them in our internship program. So at the beginning of the semester, Peter and I, we curate all of our internship opportunities. We put them together essentially like a job board or internship board. We share those with our internship students, and we empower our students to reach out and communicate or contact the point of contact for that opportunity. So the students, they email or call, generally email the point of contact. They attach their resume, they attach a cover letter, they request an interview. The employer will interview 2 or 3 students or more, depending on the opportunity. Certainly the paid opportunities get more attention, or there's more interest in the paid opportunities versus unpaid. And our employers know that, and they're learning that too. And some of our more established employers know that. And then it's really, we don't assign or place students with opportunities. It's really up to the employer to interview the students and offer the internship to the student, and the student accepts. And then the employer works through their normal HR onboarding process if it's a paid opportunity. We do know that with paid opportunities, when students being paid, the employer is a lot more engaged and involved. When it's an unpaid opportunity, Peter and I are a little more engaged in those situations. We sit down with the employer and the student. We write out 2 or 3 deliverables. We want to make sure the student has a great internship opportunity. And certainly all the, checking all of the evidence of learning that we do along the way as well is gathered. Another
Brett, can I ask real quick?
Yeah,
have you explored anything with like your like buildings and grounds people, the folks that clear the snow or replace light bulbs? I know a lot of like bigger construction would not be done by those people, but light construction type things. Have you started any conversations, or is that going anywhere for you guys?
So not with our district. That's really more of our, that's the AF&R pathway, agricultural, food, and natural resources. We've talked with our park district. We're close with our park district to building those opportunities. I guess that would be buildings and grounds too, in our department. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
So no, that's a great next step too. I think CASA also fits into the MET pathway, and we'll be standing up the MET pathway here this year in District 203. So those are some opportunities. I think that, along with our transportation department, will be some opportunities for us. In the few minutes that we have, we want to talk about one of the strategies we're using too as we build partnerships. Peter's done a great job with leveraging AI. And if you look at the next slide, I just want to take a couple of minutes here to share how sometimes employers, as we talk to new potential employers, they don't know how to move to the next steps with building an internship job description. And so we're leaning into AI to help bridge that gap. So Peter's going to take a few minutes to share what we're doing here.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. I'm actually going to share my screen real quick because we just had a conversation this morning that it was with a mortgage company that I actually met with the West Suburban business builders that came out of the meetups that, we're looking at nooks and crannies in different places to find people along with our Chamber of Commerce and such. So kudos to Brett for finding that. It's gotten us a lot of traction. So one of the gentlemen who's a mortgage broker connected with their human resources, their senior vice president of human resources. We actually had a conversation with him this morning, and I want to make sure everybody can see my screen there. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay. So basically what we did is we just had a conversation, just listening. I come from a sales background. I've also been in education for 20 some years, and just listening for challenges. Like Brett said, that 10th thing on their list that they can't get to. So obviously the mortgage industry right now has been taking a beating since 2020. You look at rates are going up, and, you know, Brian was telling me about 500 of their industry professionals had to be weeded down to 140 over the last like 3 years. So you hear these challenges. So the first challenge I hear is you don't have enough people to kind of work on those side gig things that you can work on. So there were 3 things that came out of this meeting. I'm going to pick one of them, and I'm building this right now, so I'm going to do it in front of you. Obviously, I'm pulling up chat here. The 3 things was they used to do events that would bring in some interest, possible customers, just kind of throw out what Compass Mortgage is. The second thing was, they do have an app development. So they're creating apps and how people interact technologically with their customers. And the third thing was they're working on the newest vertical, which is probably going to be more of their money coming in now, which is going to be around the reverse mortgage benefit that they offer, right? So I just chose here, and for the lack of time, I just typed this out already. But basically what I did here is I kind of threw this in. I already have a long standing with my ChatGPT account here, basically telling that what we want an intern to do is to actually create an event with a budget of $1,000. It's a marketing intern. There's 3 deliverables there: an outline of the event, the planning, and then the communication of the event, whether that's a presentation or whatever, to the mortgage team. We're looking at about 30 hours. We're calling this a micro internship, and this could lead to another 30 hours. So I dumped this in here, and I'm also then going to take, we do have a template. So I'm going to just take our template that Brett was sharing with you. I'm just going to copy this over, bring this in and say, use this template and create it. And I'll let it do its thing. So it's searching the web right now. It's looking at Compass Mortgage. So you can kind of see it's building this. Now, this is likely not going to be the last thing that we give to them. It's going to be a starting point, because what Brett was saying is some of our people who are onboarding are having problems or challenges kind of concepting this out. He was like, I have my mind spinning. So I'm like, well, let me settle your mind and puts a couple things together for you. So you can kind of see that you have, the internship description. It also goes into about the company. And I'll go back through this. And it has the knowledge and skills here, some different things here around physical demands and the type of internship. It already picked hybrid. And there'll be some other pieces down here that we can add to it. So then what I would do is I can take this right here, right? I know I can copy it a different way, but I'm just going to grab this here. And then I'm going to pull this over into our documents. Sorry, that was this one. And I'll paste it here, and then I'll play around with it some more if that's pasting. There we go. Okay, so now we actually have something that I can PDF and send out to Brian, and I'll do that a little bit later on. That is actually the way that we are quickly turning these things around and getting it back to people who are interested but really don't know, the capacity of an internship. What we want to show them, and I'll stop sharing there, but what we want to show them is this is a light lift. We can create things for you quickly, and our students are on a pathway. So they have, in this case, our students have taken marketing, social media marketing, and other advanced marketing course. There is college credit. So I heard a dual credit in the first presentation. Our students do get dual credit on some of our coursework. They've also have to take an econ or another class and 2 math and an English course there. So that's how we quickly turn these things around. So this evening, what I'll do is I'll send Brian another email back with everything, because we do have a lot of other ways that they can work with our our district, not only we have Motivate, we have earlier team-based challenges, we have all those different types of things. But then I'll put these at the end and say, look, we'll have interns in summertime and in the fall for this, if you want to move forward with it as well. So that's a very quick, but I want to do that in under 5 minutes because that's how we can do this when we're scaling. You saw the hockey stick that Brett was saying. Look, we got 90 of these. We can't promise every student's going to get one that we offer due to the fact that we just don't know who they're going to hire. So we have to teach our students how to be hireable. And in our process of team-based challenges and those types of things, that's hopefully where that comes through.
But thank you.